there was a lot of reasons why I wanted to have you on the pod. One, to catch up like this. It's always fun.
Yeah.
But number two, so much is going on in real estate. And I was so confused by trying to understand the market. I was like, who do I know who's really smart? And I thought, Glenn, Redfin. I wanted to start with, what is your take on what is going on with the housing crisis / bubble / appreciation? Because I've never seen anything like this. And I lived through the last bubble, the 2008 time when I bought my first house. And so just generally, people are watching housing prices go through the roof. People migrating. I don't get the sense that a lot of the people in our circles are selling their original home. They're just buying a second home. And then they're sitting on the first one because it's appreciating faster than the stock market, which then is screwing with supply. Tell us everything from where you sit, because you have the data.
Oh, wow. Well, I don't know where to start. I think there are two trends, and one is that chickens are coming home to roost, and the other is that the dam is broken. And you've definitely spoken to that second trend, which is that all this money built up in San Francisco and New York, everyone in Pittsburgh and Tulsa, Oklahoma, were talking about how they could create Silicon Valley wherever they were, and we never thought they would, but now they finally have. And so I think it's actually good for the country that technology expertise, the professional classes can live anywhere, but it does create these social disruptions. People moving to Nashville are paying nearly twice as much as the folks who live there for a home. They come in with monopoly money from New York or California, and they send home prices shooting through the roof. And the reason that those prices have continued to go up is that in San Francisco, when prices went up, it just reached a natural limit. But for someone moving to Boise, Idaho, you could pay 3 times as much, and you're still spending less than $1 million for a house. So it feels so cheap. It's just that the people who started in Boise are suddenly priced out of the market. So this idea that you could have a working class job and be able to afford the American dream was still possible in the middle of the country. And that has changed not over a 20-year period, but over a 20-week period. And it's just a massive disruption. And so that's the first thing, is just so we are now all free to move about the country. Yeah.
So we have the pandemic. People realize they can work from anywhere. Big companies paying big salaries to tech workers, information workers, say, we want you to come back. And then they realize, oh, wait a second. We are in a prisoner's dilemma here. Netflix and Apple said, you have to come back. It's not negotiable. And then the employees were like, we're not coming back. I'm going to go work at Google or Twitter or Square because Jack believes we can work from anywhere. And they were like, okay, you can work from anywhere because we're not losing our top talent. That's kind of what happened, which means now people can live anywhere and do that arbitrage. A $3 million condo or a house in San Francisco, a $3 or $4 million brownstone in Brooklyn, now gives way to $1 million place in Austin. And you feel like, wow, I'm a genius. And the people in Austin are like, you paid $1 million for that. I paid $600,000 2 years ago. You're an idiot.
That's exactly it. And it's a ratchet. I've seen this over many, many moves. The people who suddenly get a 3-car garage and have a bedroom for each kid never go back. Even if you're a zillionaire, you get addicted to the cost of living in Texas or Florida. So I think in Florida, for every one person who's leaving the state, 7 are coming in. In Texas, it's 5. And in general, for low-tax states, for every person leaving, 4 are coming in. So there's just this great migration. And it's also causing a political upheaval because San Francisco, New York, Seattle have all gone through protests, Black Lives Matter, a bunch of issues that have really roiled the social fabric. And they want to invest in that. And some of them will call you as an entrepreneur or a CEO and say that we want you to support higher taxes, which is something that I've always been supportive of. But now when they ask, are you going to leave Seattle? They act as if my personal decision matters when really we don't have one office in Seattle anymore. We have 1,000 offices, each employee deciding, do I want to live in Florida or North Dakota or Texas or Utah? And they are migrating to the lowest cost place to do that. So I think it's actually destroyed some of the leverage that big cities have had to raise revenues and solve some social problems. And that's just going to put more pressure on the federal government. So there's all sorts of fun implications about it. But I think the second challenge is that we just had so long to build housing. Like for 10 years, I've been saying we just need to build more housing. And we've argued about whether it should be affordable housing or housing for rich people. It doesn't really matter because when you increase the supply, you are going to lower prices overall. And whether it's a left-wing person or a right-wing person, we have not been able to get behind that, especially on the left. You have a lot of NIMBYism where people worry about the character of neighborhoods. They worry about zoning. They don't want density. Mayors who used to be proud to go to a ribbon cutting ceremony with a developer are just absolutely averse to that. They wouldn't be caught dead with a developer because people are so opposed to growth. And so that's one of the reasons that I ended up leaving San Francisco, is just because the city just stuck its head in the sand. You know, I lived in the Mission for a long time, which was a very diverse area. It became an absolute tech zone by the time I left, and it was because we couldn't build any more housing. And so that has happened from San Francisco up to Seattle, down to Denver, out to Portland, over to Boise. The money just arcs from one place to another, and in every place, it just wrecks home prices. And so I think that's the other challenge, is we just have to figure out how we can get very aggressive about building houses, because this is still an incredible land. There's so much space in America compared to where you are or anywhere else in the world. And we just have more room to grow. We worry about inflation, but I think one check on that is this idea that we can just spread out.
Yes.
In a way that no other country can. And so I think that's happening, but I still wish we could invest more in housing. I think it would help the working class. I think it would help the whole country.
Listen, I know you're going to feel anxious buying an expensive suit, and oh my God, what if I get a stain on it, and can I afford it? All of those worries and fears are going to go away right now. Because if you go to Indochino, like I just did, you will get a perfect fitting. You go in, they've got a great staff. They show you an unbelievable amount of fabrics, all beautifully organized. And then they measure you perfectly. Takes like 15 minutes, all your measurements right into a computer. Beep, beep, beep. Then they tell you the price. And I'm like, wait a second. Is that the price for one suit? Or that's just for the pants, or that's just for the vest, or just for the jacket? Like, no, that's the whole price, J-Cal. I was like, that's impossible, because $399 for an incredible suit with all of this intricate choices. You can pick the monogram, the lapel, the linings. They make your suit perfect. Indochino is now open at select Nordstrom stores, giving you even more ways to get a great fitting for your personalized clothing. And you can find your nearest location at Indochino.com, Indochino.com, Indochino.com. Use the promo code TWIST, and they're going to give you $50 off any purchase of $399 or more just by using TWIST. Again, Indochino.com. Use the promo code TWIST. It's a really, really great experience.